All right, guys, welcome to FBI Buildings. We are in the North Truss plant right now at our component saw. And I wanted to start the tour here because right here is where we first started our morning meetings over a year ago with the saw guys. So we have a couple of our sawyers here, Luke, Chris, and Gary, that are going to be with us on this part of the tour. And I just wanted to show that because it started out extremely simple. We just had a monitor posted on the wall, connected to my laptop on a little homemade stool, and we just connected, 6 of us each morning, and started to making improvements. And of course, what we did right after our meeting was 3S. So we learned sort, sweep, and standardize. One of my favorite things about learning 3S with these guys was learning the power of sweeping to inspect. That as we're sweeping, we're also inspecting. We're finding frayed cords, we're finding loose nuts and bolts. And we've been able to make lots of improvements just from doing that. But I wanted to talk to Chris about the saw and some of the frustrations we had around our new increased standards for cleanliness. From doing 3S all the time, you're going to increase your team's standards for what they see as clean and how they want to keep it. And when you have a saw that's wide open with 5 blades running, cutting lumber all day long, you're going to accumulate a lot of sawdust. So, Chris, walk us through some of the annoying parts that we had underneath the saw. You want to show us that? So how fun is it to get underneath that saw and sweep up all of that sawdust?
It's not fun.
Not fun. It's hard to get under there. It's hard to get it all the way out and get it clean.
Yeah.
And so it's not fun to do. But when we had the new higher standards, you were frustrated by all of that. So what was one of the things that you saw from a root cause of where that sawdust was coming from?
There's a gap in between those pool noodles right there. That
So you
That
can see
gap
that
used to
light
be-
right there.
that gap used to all the way down on both sides of the shaker deck.
And so the idea that Chris and I had was let's just buy some pool noodles from Amazon, and we cut a slit in them, and then we climbed underneath there and we put that over the railing, and it closed that gap. And
That
so
wasn't fun either.
that wasn't fun. But now, a couple weeks, and this is all the sawdust that you're going to get underneath the table because we found the source of the dust.
Sadly, that I just did today.
But it's very clean,
Yeah.
right? And it's not piled up completely with sawdust. Yeah. And so also part of that was the frustration around getting the vac under there. And so we made some improvements to our vac system where Chris challenged us that we could probably get some better hoses. And then we also experimented until we found this system so that now he doesn't have to bend over. He can get under there. He's not going underneath the saw to clean that all up. So that probably took us 2-3 iterations to finally come to this final solution. And then he's added a clamp on the side so that it holds it upright and they keep it nice and organized. So that's awesome. And then now I wanted to bring in Gary. So Gary's been with us 43 years. He has tons of knowledge and experience, and he's a very organized person, even before we started doing lean. But Gary, tell me about your banding cart and what improvements we made to that.
We usually use this for pre-cuts and staged lumber, and it was just a mess. So we added some blocks to make it easier to get the bander out.
We tried foam, but it wasn't strong
It
enough, the
wasn't-
Kaizen foam, to hold this heavy bander.
And then I keep a pair of gloves in here, so when we do treated lumber, I can slip them
Just got your
on.
gloves right there.
And back over here, we have a hammer and a pair of band cutters. Sometimes the lumber, you go to band it, it's sticking out, so you beat it and get it straight so it bands easier.
And we're just using simple holders, tool holders that we can find at the big box stores or that we already have here on site.
Yep.
Nothing special. And then something to hold your banding.
Right.
Keeps it organized. GPS taped red for your red area.
Yep.
So he's very particular and able to keep that. And now all the other banding carts do this same thing that they learned from Gary. So awesome job, Gary.
Okay.
And now we're going to go over here. Another one of the improvements that Chris made was on our chop saw station. So Chris, if you want to come over here real fast. So again, it's okay that your team gets frustrated by the new level of cleanliness standards that you have. And we wanted to keep this area cleaner. And so you have some metalworking experience in your background. And so tell us about the chute that you made.
I made a chute to collect the sawdust by just bending sheet metal.
That we already have on hand as
Yeah.
scrap. And so you learned from your dad how to do all the angles and you know how to
Yeah.
do that. So you're able to create that. And there's a chute at the bottom. And then it goes to this tub that now we can empty out instead of just going all over the ground. And we've been experimenting with a vac system as well. So we always are trying to keep improving and iterating. And we got this scrap aluminum that we use from our warehouse so that we could put the tape for measuring up instead of like this where we kept rubbing it against it. And so we just kept wanting to keep the standard high, keep the rope tight. And that was Chris's idea to put that up like that. And then one of the things that I wanted to point out is, we give our guys 20 minutes to improve every day, but sometimes you could spend all of that time just trying to find the tools that you need. So maybe your impact driver or the right bit or a circular saw. And so we actually bought every functional area Milwaukee set with a circular saw, your drivers, your bit set, and your drill and your impact so that they're not looking all over the place for that 15, 20 minutes that they get to improve. They can find what they need and they can make their improvement. So it was an investment, but it allows our team to use that time as wisely as possible. Now let's keep walking over this way. Chris, let's show them one of our first lessons that we learned with 3F. So having a fixed tool in a fixed location in a fixed quantity was these two little wrenches right here. So Chris uses these to adjust these skate wheels or put new ones on when they break off. And he was having to go around and look for two wrenches to do his work, even though it only takes 30 seconds to do it. So why not buy an extra $3 wrench and have both of them right there? And then Chris's idea, we started with Velcro and now we've moved on to magnets so that they're right there, right where we do the work. Why not have multiple of those tools to do that? So awesome job. And then Chris, Gary, and Luke have all been kind of our first go at using these Kamishibai boards from Fat American Manufacturing. So our friend Brian Myers created these boards for daily, weekly, and monthly tasks. And we just started real simple. So Travis, who's behind the camera, and Corey, and Chris, and Luke, and Gary, we just took note cards and we colored them ourselves, red and green with Expo markers, and we just put the tasks on there that we need to do. And so what I love about Kamishibai boards is you might have something like inspect and clean the saw blades that you only do once a month and you can forget to do that, but now you have a reminder, or grease the blade motors, easily forgotten things that now you can put on here and remind yourself to do them. And then we've been slowly turning them into Gemba docs with QR codes so that we can see how we do those tasks and we can record them. So this team has been on the forefront of doing that, so I really appreciate them for that. And you can see their shadow board. So everyone in the truss plant has a shadow board with a standard set of tools, the shovel and the dustbin to collect all the dust, and then two types of brooms to be as efficient as possible. And we're able to just pull it off, put it back on. And they did an amazing job trying to make it look as clean and fresh as possible. And a shout out to Chad Jeffries, the truss plant manager. His idea was to color the boards the same as their GPS area. So this is the red area. So their board is red. We'll walk over to the radio arm saw later and you'll see it's purple. And we have green and blue and yellow. And so it's very clear and easy to see what GPS area you're in doing that way. So a great idea from Chad. And then we're going to walk over here to Gary's forklift. And I say Gary's forklift because he takes complete ownership over his resources. So forklifts are a very expensive tool, but you can see we have an all gravel yard, and Gary's forklift is absolutely immaculate. It's clean inside and outside. And Gary,
To me, it's dirt.
to Gary, it's dirty, but he keeps it as clean as possible. And he actually wrote the standards for how we clean our forklifts. So it's pictures of Gary, and it was his idea on how we clean it out. make sure we blow out the filters, lube it correctly, power wash it, all of that. So Gary really takes ownership of his fork truck, and that's going to make it last.
And blow out the radiator. That's very important.
And blow out the radiator. Exactly. And that's why you need standards, because it could be easy not to do that important step, which is actually going to lead to a breakdown later. And so Gary made sure that we had all that in there. So awesome job to them. And then let's walk over here to the end of the saw. And again, another great improvement from Chris and also from Gary and Luke. So Chris, tell us about this broom that we have on the end of the conveyor belt here. Where do we get that idea?
Husky Truss, I believe.
Yeah, so we got that from our late friend Austin Husky, who he was an awesome man, and he came up here really early on in our journey and spent 2 days with us. And he gave us this idea. It was our first instance of Yokotan horizontal sharing, this time with another company. And so we just had this intractable problem of what to do about the sawdust down by where the conveyor belt connects to the saw. And Austin showed us how to just put a broom upside down on there and to attack it here instead of where we thought the source was. So a great example of just learning, using what you already have, and Chris getting it done, installing it. So awesome job. Now we're going to go to Luke at the radial arm saw. And Luke's done a ton of amazing work with 3F and putting his tools in the place where it needs to be. And you put a sensor on the light. Okay. Nice work, Luke. That's awesome. So tell us about the progression of kind of your tools here in the radial arm saw area.
So when we first had the tools over here, there was about double the amount of tools here than you see, and they were all in a box basically like this.
Just reusing boxes that we had. Yep.
And most of the tools, I didn't even know what they went to. So initially there was just a flat top table right here, and this table that's here was about 2 feet over this direction. And we had Kaizen foam there, sorted out the tools, but I just put all of them in there instead of a few of the ones that I actually needed. And
so like you might have an entire Allen wrench set when you only need one Allen wrench, or you might have an entire set of these when all you need is a 13/16 paddle bit. Or you might have multiple screwdrivers when really all you need is this Phillips screwdriver. And how much easier is it now that you don't have to think, oh, what was the size again of the Allen key that I needed? You only have the right size.
It saves me probably 3 or 4 seconds, but that's 3 or 4 seconds that it takes me to go over there and do what I need to do with it.
Yeah. And I don't know if everyone caught that, but we made a move that seemed small, but it was huge, is we cut 2 foot off this table and brought it that much closer, because then what were we able to do with this inclined surface?
That inclined surface wasn't doing anything. It was just holding some old paperwork that nobody used anymore. So we put our green bander here so that it's real easy to get at. Put our charger there where it's all right there where we need it.
One-handed. Yep.
And
all this at an angle.
There.
Yeah. And then tell me about your paint that you got going on up here.
So we did have it like you usually read from left to right. So you think, okay, we'll just put the paint that we use in the proper orders from left to right. So we used red first. It was down here, so we just flipped it. So now it's closer to where we're actually using it. So now we just...
And you're going to use red the most, and it's right there the closest. And then one of the things that we really got into doing around here is using magnets to hold up our tools. It's just really quick and efficient and versatile. And then one of the things also that we did was we wanted to make it easier to take this dust bin from our dust collection system and pull it out and put it in the dumpster. So what we did is we moved this entire thing 4 feet this way so that now you can reach it underneath there. We were talking all kinds of crazy ideas what we needed to do, and all we really need to do is move this closer. And we also put more insulation in here while we were at it to make it better. And just a huge improvement there. Be able to put a shelf so we could put our music up. So great improvement there from Dustin. Also Kamishibai board here for this radial arm saw area. And again, we just started simple with what we had. Let's just make note cards and green and red and just get started, and then we'll make Gemba docks as we're able to get into it. And Luke's done a great job painting, sorting, organizing, keeping it clean over here So great job there. And you can see he also has his purple shadow board for this area, which is purple GPS. So great job, guys. And I hope you enjoyed that first look at FBI buildings in the North Truss plant, the Saw area with Luke, Gary, and Chris.